All right, let's dive deep into something that's happening inside you right this very second, but you can't see or feel it. We're talking about the story of water in your body. It's this incredibly delicate, high-stakes dance that every single one of your cells is doing constantly. And trust me, the rules of this dance are going to surprise you. So let me start with a question for you. What could sweating like crazy after a run possibly have in common with a really bad case of diarrhea? I mean, on the surface, they seem totally unrelated, right? But down at the cellular level, they're basically two sides of the same coin. Stick with me and you'll see exactly how they're connected. The whole secret, the thing that ties it all together, is this one big rule: osmotic equilibrium. You know, it sounds complicated, but it's not. All it means is that your body is absolutely obsessed with balance. The fluid inside your cells and the fluid outside your cells, they're in this constant push and pull, always trying to have the exact same concentration of particles. If one side gets out of whack, water literally rushes across the border to fix it. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we need to learn the two basic rules of the game. They're called osmolarity and tonicity. Now, I know they sound kind of technical, but they're really simple ideas that explain, well, everything that's about to happen. So first up, osmolarity. Think of it this way. It's just a measure of how crowded a fluid is with stuff like salt or sugar. Imagine you've got 2 glasses of iced tea. In one, you put 1 spoonful of sugar. In the other, you dump 10. That second glass with 10 spoonfuls, it has a way higher osmolarity. It's just more concentrated, more crowded with sugar particles. Simple as that. Right. So if osmolarity is the cause, how crowded the fluid is, then tonicity is the effect. Tonicity is what actually happens to a living cell when you drop it into that fluid. Does it shrink up? Does it swell like a balloon? Or does it just chill out and stay the same? That's tonicity. It's the consequence. And this cellular tug-of-war really only has 3 possible outcomes. If the fluid is isotonic, the balance is perfect. The concentration inside and outside the cell is the same, so nothing really happens. But if you put the cell in a hypertonic solution, one that's extra salty or crowded, water gets sucked out of the cell and it shrivels up. And if you put it in a hypotonic solution, one that's more watery or dilute, water rushes in, causing the cell to swell up. This shrinking and swelling is the key to everything we're talking about today. So let's put these rules to the test with something we've all felt: dehydration. This is where that whole cellular balancing act gets thrown into chaos. Remember our question about diarrhea? Well, here's the answer. When you have diarrhea, you're losing fluid, sure, but you're losing both water and salts in pretty much equal amounts. So even though your total fluid level is dropping, the concentration or osmolarity of the fluid that's left behind doesn't really change. Because of that, your cells don't sense an imbalance, so they don't shrink or swell, at least not right away. Now, for the sweating part of our question, this is the kind of dehydration most of us are familiar with. When you sweat, you lose way more pure water than you lose salt. This makes the fluid outside your cells, what we call the extracellular fluid, super salty or hypertonic. And what happens then? Well, water gets pulled out of your cells to try and dilute that salty fluid outside. Your cells actually shrink. And that cellular shrinkage is one of the main signals that tells your brain to yell, "Hey, you, go drink some water." Then you've got this third type, which is less common but really shows you how this works. In some rare medical conditions, your body can actually lose more salt than it loses water. So now the fluid outside your cells becomes really watery or hypotonic. And in a total plot twist, water now rushes into your cells, causing them to swell up, even though your body as a whole is dehydrated. It's completely counterintuitive. So here's the bottom line, and it's so important. The exact same problem, dehydration, can cause the complete opposite thing to happen to your cells. If you lose mostly water, like from sweating, your cells shrink. If you lose mostly salt, your cells swell. It all comes down to the tonicity of the fluid that's left behind. And this is exactly why chugging plain water isn't always the right fix for severe dehydration. Okay, so we've seen what happens when you lose too much fluid. But what about the flip side? Overhydration. Can you actually have too much of a good thing? Oh, absolutely. And as you're about to see, the exact same rules apply. The ways you get overhydrated follow that same logic, but the results can be pretty wild. For example, if you were to drink seawater, It actually makes your body fluids so incredibly salty that it pulls water out of your cells to try and compensate. You get more dehydrated. But the most dangerous path is actually drinking way too much plain water. This dilutes your body fluids, which forces that extra water into your cells, causing them to swell. That can be a very serious, even life-threatening condition. So, with all these potential dangers lurking around, shrinking cells, swelling cells, you have to wonder, how does our body manage this whole circus? Well, it turns out it has a brilliant and almost completely automatic control system. At the very heart of this system is this beautiful feedback loop. You've got these tiny sensors in your brain called osmoreceptors, and their only job is to constantly check the saltiness, the osmolarity of your blood. If it gets a little too concentrated, your brain releases a chemical messenger called antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. ADH zips down to your kidneys and basically tells them, hey, hold on to water, don't let it go. The kidneys obey, they reabsorb more water back into your body, and boom, your blood gets diluted back to normal. It's this perfect self-correcting cycle.
So really, you've got this amazing 3-part defense system working for you 24/7. You've got the ADH hormone acting as the messenger, you've got your kidneys as the smart filters that carry out the orders, and then you've got your thirst drive, which is like the big red alarm system that forces you to go get more water. They're a perfect team, all working together to keep you in that sweet spot of osmotic equilibrium.
And that really brings us to the main point here. This whole system isn't passive. It's not just happening by accident. It's an active process driven by hormones. Our bodies are constantly using these chemical signals to fine-tune the osmolarity, that crowding of particles, in our fluids, all just to keep us stable and alive. When you really think about this incredible microscopic dance happening billions of times a second, you realize your body is just a true master of balance, working tirelessly to keep everything just right. And that leaves us with one final thought for you to take away. Are your daily habits helping that effort, or are you maybe making its job a little bit harder? Thanks for joining us.